A new year means a new slate of films that create an incredible amount of excitement. Whether it's the return of master filmmakers, new movies headlined by your favorite stars, or new installments in major franchises, every year begins with so much promise, and 2026 is no different. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of exciting movies expected to release from January through December. Rather than run through every single title that audiences will be able to see, let's run through 20 of the most exciting and most anticipated movies coming out in 2026. "20 years after the original movie, The Devil Wears Prada 2 is finally coming out with all the returning stars you'd expect. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci are back, with Kenneth Branagh, Simone Ashley, Justin Theroux, and Lucy Liu among the new additions. Original director and writer, David Frankel and Aline Brosh McKenna, are still guiding these characters through the sequel. The Devil Wears Prada 2 has a May 1st release date, making the return of Miranda Priestly, Andy, Emily, and Nigel a massive moment at the beginning of the summer movie season. Searchlight Pictures is turning its sleeper hit horror title into a franchise in 2026, and the wait for Ready or Not 2, Here I Come has left us very ready for its return. Samara Weaving reprises her role as Grace and is now joined by fellow Scream Queen, Catherine Newton. The Radio Silence team is directing the follow-up after delivering the incredibly fun vampire movie Abigail in 2024, which had a connection to Ready or Not. The anticipated pairing of Weaving and Newton will finally transpire when Ready or Not 2, Here I Come hits theaters on March 27th. Hopefully it's not the last time they're together on screen either. Anytime M. Night Shyamalan makes a movie, it's an event. Now, after Trap was overlooked by many, the twisty director is making a return with a supernatural romantic thriller. Remain is based on an idea for a story Shyamalan developed with Nicholas Sparks. To make it even more exciting, Jake Gyllenhaal is leading the cast with Phoebe Dynevor. The plot is still largely a mystery, and Shyamalan is sure to have a few surprises up his sleeve here. Remain is scheduled for an October 23rd release through Warner Brothers, and I'll be seated on day one for this one. Send Help deserves a spot on this list thanks to its core trio of director Sam Raimi, and stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien alone. Add in the horror genre return element for Raimi and the stranded on a deserted island plot, and Send Help gains even more intrigue. It looks absolutely terrific as McAdams and O'Brien's characters fight for control and life on the island. Thankfully, we don't have to wait long for this one, as Send Help hits theaters on January 30th thanks to 20th Century. Lucasfilm is finally bringing Star Wars back to the big screen for the first time in 7 years in 2026. To do so, they're building on The Mandalorian's success by having Jon Favreau direct The Mandalorian and Grogu. A new adventure involving Din Djarin and Grogu involving Jabba the Hutt's son, it looks to take the Disney Plus show to the big leagues and give the galaxy far, far away a massive win. The Mandalorian and Grogu gets a premium summer release on May 22nd, with Lucasfilm and Disney hoping it's a major crowd-pleasing hit that can dominate the box office all season long. Jacob Elordi will be at the center of Wuthering Heights early in 2026, and he'll follow that up with the leading role in Ridley Scott's The Dog Stars later on. The sci-fi movie is based on a book by Peter Heller. The film pairs Elordi's character with Josh Brolin as two men traversing a post-apocalyptic world ravaged by a deadly virus. It also features Margaret Qualley, Guy Pearce, and Benedict Wong. 20th Century Studios recently delayed The Dog Stars, shifting it from a March release to its current August 28th debut. After many years of waiting, Greta Gerwig's Chronicles of Narnia reboot with Netflix finally begins in 2026. She's directed an adaptation of The Magician's Nephew, with Emma Mackey playing a young white witch. Meryl Streep is reportedly voicing Aslan, while Daniel Craig, Carey Mulligan, Denise Gough, and more have supporting roles. The arrival of The Magician's Nephew will begin on November 26 when it enjoys a limited theatrical release in IMAX before becoming available on Netflix closer to Christmas. Zach Cregger has done wonders in horror with Barbarian and Weapons in recent years, so him taking on an iconic property like Resident Evil is incredibly exciting. He's not adapting a specific video game but instead looking to create a new story, with Austin Abrams and Paul Walter Hauser leading the cast. Expect plenty of scares and a bigger scale than anything Cregger has handled before. Sony is releasing Resident Evil in theaters on September 18th, giving it a chance to stand out as a major tentpole during a time when new ones do not arrive as frequently. DC Studios had a massive win in 2025 with Superman launching the DC Universe, and Millie Alcock's Supergirl cameo at the end directly tees up the franchise's next installment. Directed by Craig Gillespie, Supergirl is based on the comic Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, by Tom King. Alcock returns to headline the space adventure, with Jason Momoa's Lobo, David Corenswet's Superman, and Krypto among those set to appear. Supergirl will fly high in the summer, with DC and Warner Brothers giving it a June 26th release date. What was nearly Quentin Tarantino's 10th and final film, The Adventures of Cliff Booth, now arrives in 2026 without him behind the camera. David Fincher steps in to tackle the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood spin-off/sequel following Brad Pitt's Cliff Booth. No other Wadi stars are scheduled to return, with Elizabeth Debicki, Scott Caan, Carla Gugino, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Holt McCallany, and Timothy Olyphant among the ensemble cast. Netflix has yet to give The Adventures of Cliff Booth an official release date, but it is confirmed to come out sometime in 2026, with a later year debut most likely. Pixar is going back to the Toy Story well once more in 2026 with the release of Toy Story 5, coming 7 years after the franchise's last finale. Woody, Buzz Lightyear, Jessie, and others are back as the toys encounter a tech-based tablet. Andrew Stanton steps into directing duties for the sequel, with all the usual voice performers returning to their known roles. Disney and Pixar are expecting big things out of Toy Story 5 with its June 19th release date. And while there's some hesitation about how these characters can come back organically once again, seeing them all again with this premise is exciting. The Hunger Games franchise returns with a prequel about Haymitch Abernathy, Sunrise on the Reaping. Franchise veteran Francis Lawrence is back in charge of this installment. Joseph Zada plays the younger version of the District 12 victor previously played by Woody Harrelson, while Ralph Fiennes, Elle Fanning, Jesse Plemons, Kieran Culkin, Maya Hawke, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Lily Taylor step into familiar roles. Adding to the anticipation factor, Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson will return as Katniss and Peeta in some capacity. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping comes to theaters on November 20th courtesy of Lionsgate. Tom Cruise is leaving action movies and franchises behind for one of his most exciting projects in recent memory, Digger. The movie hails from multi-Oscar-winning director Alejandro G. Inarritu, with Cruise playing a man who attempts to save the world from a disaster he caused. Detailed as a comedy of catastrophic proportions. In the marketing, hopes are extremely high for what Inarritu and Cruise will deliver together. Warner Brothers has given Digger an early sign of faith that it will live up to expectations with its October 2nd release date, positioning it as an early 2027 Oscars contender. Robert Eggers has become one of the biggest names in horror in recent years, so the chance to see him tackle werewolves in the 13th century and Aaron Taylor Johnson in the lead makes Werewolf a hotly anticipated title. Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, and Ralph Ineson are also part of the period horror film's cast. Looking to repeat the success he had with Nosferatu in 2024, Focus Features has given Werewolf a December 25th release date. Waiting all year for this one will be tough, but there's little reason to believe Eggers will disappoint now. Ryan Gosling is teaming up with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller for one of 2020 SIX's most exciting sci-fi movies, Project Hail Mary. Based on the book by the Martian's Andy Weir, it stars Gosling as an astronaut who wakes up in space with no memory of his current mission. The trailers have been terrific, and expectations are through the roof thanks to the acclaim the novel received. Amazon MGM could have a major hit on its hands when Project Hail Mary debuts on March 20th. It's always exciting when there's a new Spider-Man movie coming out, and 2026 is no different with the buzzy nature of Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Directed by Shang-Chi's destined Daniel Cretton, the movie is the fourth solo film for Tom Holland. He'll cross paths with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, John Bernthal's Punisher, and Sadie Sink's mysterious new character. As the last film before Avengers, Doomsday, seeing how it leads to it, and builds off Spider-Man, No Way Home's ending makes this a must-see release. Spider-Man, Brand New Day comes out on July 31st. Steven Spielberg is returning to sci-fi in 2026 with the much-anticipated release of Disclosure Day. Revolving around the day where humans learn the aliens exist, the debut trailer suggests the director has not lost his fastball within this genre. Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Coleman Domingo, Eve Hewson, and Wyatt Russell are among those slated to appear. Universal has positioned Disclosure Day as a major tentpole for the summer with its June 12th release date. As it reunites Spielberg and writer David Koepp, and includes another John Williams score, there's no shortage of reasons to look forward to this one. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has its biggest movie in years coming out in 2026 with Avengers, Doomsday. Marvel Studios is pulling out all the stops to make sure this one lands, with the Russo brothers directing, Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Dr. Doom, Chris Evans back as Steve Rogers, and assembling a cast that spans the Marvel multiverse. The 4-trailer release rollout has made sure everyone keeps on talking about it, too. Rather than have the Avengers franchise come out in April, or May as usual, Marvel is switching things up for this one. Avengers, Doomsday comes out December 18th with the hopes of being the blockbuster dominating theaters all through the holidays. Denis Villeneuve has made the Dune franchise one of the best in modern Hollywood, so the return of this sci-fi epic with Dune, Part 3 is incredibly enticing. Timothée Chalamet is back as Paul Atreides, with Zendaya, Florence Pugh, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, and Jason Momoa among the returning cast. Robert Pattinson has also joined the ensemble. How Villeneuve goes about adapting a trickier book adds to the intrigue inherent with a new Dune movie, as does curiosity about how he'll wrap up Paul's story and possibly the entire franchise. Dune, Part 3 is currently slated to go head-to-head with Avengers, Doomsday, but don't be surprised if it moves up, even if it is arguably the more exciting release. Was there any other choice for the most anticipated movie of 2026? Christopher Nolan is Hollywood's biggest filmmaker, and he's tackling Homer's Greek epic on a scale we've never seen before. The cast is absolutely stacked, including Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, John Bernthal, Charlize Theron, Zendaya, Benny Safdie, and more. The Odyssey already looks like the biggest cinematic event of 2026, with it being the first film to be shot entirely with IMAX cameras. Nolan could deliver a defining film of his career once again after winning multiple Oscars for Oppenheimer after The Odyssey hits theaters on July 17th. 2026 is absolutely stacked, from intimate horror to massive franchise finales and visionary epics. Which movie are you most excited for? Did I miss one you're hyped about? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this countdown, like the video, subscribe for more movie rankings, and I'll see you in the next one.